All right, welcome back to our astrology study group today. Since it's well, it's just so funny when I create these. It's like the day, and I don't sometimes keep in mind that people are going to watch these whenever. But it's spring here, which kind of give me the impetus to talk about gardening by the moon and gardening with signs and how we can kind of take advantage of this. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. All right. I'm going to get me out of the way. Move that. All right. This is one website that I found, and I want if you can't see anything, anybody just stop me. But this one was called Gardening by the Moon, and there's lots of cool sites and stuff out there, but I like this one right here, and I just wanted to share this little bit about this, and I'll run through this. Why is this important? Why does this work? So there's several layers of this. So I'm going to just start with one that makes sense. Talks about gravity, the laws of gravity, which prove the tides are affected by the gravitational pull of the moon. The pull of the moon is stronger than the sun because even though the sun is larger, the moon is closer to the earth. The strongest effect is felt when the moon and the sun pull from the opposite side of the earth, or the full moon phase, although it creates high tides when they are on the same side as the new moon stage as well. So the gravitation of the passing moon pulls the nearest body of water a little away from the solid mass of the earth beneath it, and at the same time pulls the earth a little away from the water on the farthest side. In this manner, the moon sets up two tidal bulges on opposite sides of the earth. So these same forces affect the water content of the soil. First clue of gardening with the moon. We're using the gravity. It's sort of like a magnet, imagine that pull of that magnet, because that's really what it is, electromagnetic energy. And it's going to pull that water molecule. The water molecule is polar, so it's going to have that pull of that. So it creates more moisture in the soil at the time of the new and the full moon. Well, looky there. That's all you need to know. Done. No, but that's really a really big part of it. So this increased moisture encourages the seeds to sprout and grow. A lunar gardening calendar that combines the best moon phase and sign together will help you achieve optimum results. So this is the big part here. So we were using the effects of gravity. This is not just like woo woo. Oh, I think I'll try garden in this moon sign because it's pretty. There's a lot more to astrology than that at all. I was listening to one of my favorite astrologers the other night run through. It's Rick Levine, and he has a monthly forecast on. He just goes through all the stuff, kind of some of the little bit of stuff that we do, but he just goes through like of each month. This is happening on this day, and this is making a square with this, and this, like kind of how we study, but he just like runs right through it. And I'm listening to that and think, you can't be simple-minded and really understand astrology, because you have to multi-complex information. You're holding in your mind like two squares, and then he goes, oh, and then something else has happened at the midpoint of that, which is the 45 degrees, and then you're going, yeah, and then at the same time it's making a trine, and so you've got to compare all that knowledge and just kind of crunch that. So I just had to add that little thing in, because we as astrologers, really, once you get into astrology, you really have to know your shit. You're multi-complexing your mind, and it definitely takes a lot of brain cells. It's like music theory. It's like you're holding a lot and doing a lot at once. Or language, it's one of those complex brain functions. So I had to say that there, because people think sometimes, oh, it's just this or it's that. You're doing a lot of freaking work when you look at astrology, and I'm going to start to show you today how that happens. So from this point right here, we're going to diverge. You can look at this site, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they have on there, which is nice. All right, so I'm going to share that, and I'm going to share something else with you. I'm going to show you the ephemeris, which we've looked at many times. Let me make this bigger. It doesn't get that much bigger. Let me get one way. Hold on. Maybe can make it bigger. No, it's not letting me from here. Oh well. Anyway, you get your ephemeris, and I pulled up the one for this month, May 2021. And we know on the very left-hand side is each day of the month. And then across the top, we have the planets in order going out from the sun. Sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, blah, 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 going all the way out. All right. So what do we want to do? We want to scroll down the column and get to the date. Today is 18th. So I'm just going to put the little marker, the cursor right there. And I note that the sun is still in Taurus, 27 degrees. You know, we know that it changes around the 20th, 21st of each month. So we know it's close there. So we go, oh, okay, the sun's still in you should use your basic astrology. Sun still in a fertile sign. We should have been planting all month, basically, because even Aries is good, but you start doing, and then the soil warms up a little bit more, even if you're in higher latitudes. May is still a pretty good month. Now I'm in Florida, so we're we're already been rolling for months here, so I have to change it just a little bit, but that's kind of like a mid-month of getting stuff up and rolling. Now I'm still planting and doing stuff for summer, so I do employ a lot of different gardening techniques and do a lot of shade gardening and manipulating of the light, moving plants so that I create more of a shade when I get into the high summer, and I get that really, really strong south and western lighting, which is where my plants are. The sun comes around, all of a sudden my plants are on the west side, so they get blasted. All right. But anyway, you got to have a little bit of gardening techniques. Anyway, you have to know a little bit about sun, where you're going to plant in your garden, what you're going to plant. Are you just going to have plants around? Are you having vegetables, or all of that, And gardening is, a little bit of all of that. I find if you're a plant person, you're kind of doing stuff all the time. You're planting, pruning, weeding, separating plants, going from seeds to seedlings, from seedlings to mature plant, helping the mature plants all along, composting. I mean, it's kind of a continual process, like all the time. So you're leapfrogging also at looking at not only what I'm doing right now, but what I've got coming up for the next few months, because gardeners thinking like 3 months ahead. I'm planting the seed today. It's not going to fruit till 3 months from now or 4 months from now, whatever. So all that being said, we want to look at opportune times. You want to put in your basic astrology, fertile, barren. That's kind of what the first thought of the whole thing is. First of all, gravitational and water, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I mean, it just makes more sense to put seeds in the ground when there's more water content to hold the seed, to make that seed coating, casing, have more water, so it penetrates in and it swells, and then the seed pops and the seedling starts to come out. The whole process is triggered. All right. So now we're going to look at, the whole month. We started at the end of April. This whole time here would have been good. And now let's go over and look at the moon and get even more specific. These are what I use more than anything, the sun and the moon. So we're going to look a little bit deeper at the moon phases. So let's look phases and signs. While I'm here at signs, let's look at that first. So we're going down through the month, and you could read the glyphs, but let's look at today and just see where that's at. Moon just moved into Leo. So a few days ago, like over the weekend, I should have been doing stuff because the moon was in Cancer. Those days, their 16th and 17th, would probably have been some of the best garden days this month. I'd probably want to also look at when they was in Taurus, the 10th and 11th, because now I've got, that's a good sign. Also in Pisces when it's in Taurus, and then the moon is in Pisces. So those nice fertile signs, Pisces, Taurus, coming up Cancer. The next one will be Scorpio. And does that happen before we change signs, before we go into? No. Well, nope, it goes into Gemini, but still, the moon is more the ruler of that than the sun. But I just had to give you that first because it just makes sense. You know, it's like, well, it just is. All right. So anyway, the moon now. So now we're going to be looking at the moon. So it's basically, you know, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So basically, you're going to kind of leapfrog every 2 days, every 2.5 days, you do some kind of gardening. So you really want to go on the fertile signs for one thing. That's like probably the easiest pickings is to go, okay, let's go to the ephemeris and mark on your calendar or buy a calendar, you know, that has that Llewellyn's is one. There's going to be some others coming up soon. The School of White will have one. But basically, I used to, you know, just get a piece of paper or on a calendar, and then I'd write, you know, those times. I would just make like a moon, and then I might do like Pisces and draw the sign of Pisces, and maybe go like 2 days, like it's from the whatever date to the whatever date. Make a little thing end, and then you go down to the next time you do another moon, and then you write like the sign, you know, Cancer. You write Cancer, then you write, you know, you put the end date. So you can look at that, and you kind of have it mapped out to do that on your own. That's one way. That's kind of cool. Within that, let me get out of here. And go to another share. Go to this one. All right. Get this stuff out of the way. In this, I just grabbed a little bit of information for you on the phases. So now we're going to think about another level of gardening, is going from new moon to full moon, and then what happens from full moon to new moon. So at the new moon, you know that there's no moon. And a little while ago, when we saw that picture from that gardening with the moon site, it said that when the sun and moon are on the same side, it also creates more gravitational pull, because now we have both of those bodies pulling kind of more. So it's almost a little wobbly or more lopsided effect on the new moon. You get a greater pull because you got both of the bodies there, as opposed to the opposite side. You know, you got sun and moon. Yeah. All right. Ancient Greeks believed the new moon was a time of fertility and rebirth because the moon and the sun were joined together in the same part of the sky. During the new moon, gravity from the moon is pulling water up, which aids in germination. This is the best time to plant above ground crops, plants that produce seeds outside of the fruit, blah, 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 blah. Because, you know, we're putting seeds in the soil and there's more water in the soil naturally. Now, what if you plant indoors or hydroponic, or you know, again, indoors, or you don't have the plant in the soil? Well, so we still have the effect of water and gravity and pulling, whether that's in a little cup on your desk or if it's in the ground, if it's in a high-rise building, or if it's down in the valley, doesn't matter. I mean, we have that effect. It's over the whole earth, so it's pulling. All right, so from new moon, that phase, that might be a good time to start soaking seeds, planting seeds, and then especially if they coordinate with a fertile sign, that'd be good. So if we had, you know, the new moon, which is the starting, and it's a fertile phase, which you're only going to be a couple days off regardless. But if it coincides, it's like, yay, it's getting a good garden this year. All right, the waxing moon. And how do you remember waxing and waning? Easy way, wax on, you know, wax builds up, right? Wax comes on something, building it up. So waxing is the building up moon. So it's increasing light now. It's great for the growing of leaf growth. That's what, you know, stem and leaf. That's kind of the first thing that the plant's going to do. This is the best time to plant above ground crops that produce seeds, blah, 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 blah. All right, now how about the full moon? During this phase, energy is drawn down, and after the moon has peaked, the light starts to decrease. Good for root growth. Plant root crops such as beets, carrots, onions, whatever. This is also time to transplant any type of plant, because the plant's not actively as much doing the whole pulling up water, pushing the leaves, you know, so it can handle getting its roots disturbed, you know, no matter what. If you're taking it out of a little pot, putting it, you're still going to disturb its roots, no matter how careful you are with that, you know, the plant's going to be uprooted. All right. Now the waning, after the full moon wanes, it starts to go down. So just if you can't remember, wane is opposite of wax. Wax is building up, wane is the other one. Where it's moving lesser. So this is the time of rest and maintenance. Weeding, pruning, fertilizing, grafting during this moon phase. The last few nights of this quarter, when the sky appears moonless, it is a fallow period. See, because we're getting back to the new moon before we start again. So it's like cleaning up all the mess and everything before you begin again. Okay. This signifies the death of the old before it starts anew. Best time to do garden work. It's best not to do any really garden work at that time. Wash your pots out. Go get soil, maybe shovel soil around, or that kind of busy work rather than messing with plants and seeds. All right, this is another cool concept. Earth inhalation and exhalation in the morning. Earth exhales. I thought this was cool, which allows sap and water to rise. So the earth is like, this is the best time to harvest plants whose parts we eat are above ground, like lettuce. It's full and plump. The all night it's been just pushing outwards, growing, or just it. See, because when it's doing photosynthesis during the day, it's like working, and at night it's sort of it doesn't have to do that so much. So it exhales. All right, in the evening, the earth inhales, which draws sap down into the roots and soil. So this is the best time to sow the seeds, to harvest root crops, to dig the soil ready for planting and spreading compost. Also a good time to apply foliar feeds and sprays. So the earth is, okay, if it's going to be drawing the sap down into the roots and the soil, it can have the foliar feed, and, it will be there in the morning. So kind of clinging into the air around, so that when it starts, it's day, that environment is enriched with those nutrients, so to speak, but at night, it's going to be just pulling all that into it. All right, into the soil, into the plant. Now, we covered this a little bit just a minute ago in the ephemeris, but the elements, so fertile signs would be any earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, and also has to do with roots. So you can plant things, root plants during the earth signs as well. It's like, I'm going to do a bunch of potatoes. Well, gosh, the moon's going to be in Virgo. Might as well do it then. Okay, good. Or it's in Leo, I'll wait, which I want to wait anyway because it's a barren sign. So I'll wait till Virgo before I plant my potatoes. So water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, relate to more leafy things. So you can also plant more leafy plants during the water sign if you can. This won't always work on everything. Sometimes you just got to just do it and just heck with it all, and you just got to get it done. But if you can plan stuff a little bit, it just makes it a little more, your efforts aren't as wasted. The plant, it takes root and it grows well and it get a good harvest and it resists insects and all that. Barren signs now, air signs, which are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Now this is interesting. There are some gardeners who say, well, this is actually a good time to plant flowers during the air barren signs. Go figure. And then the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Vegetables with fruits and seeds. Another thought on that. I was looking at, and they talk about that a little bit more in that Gardening by the Moon site. So it's kind of interesting. All right. Let me just read this a little bit here. Okay, so the lunar phase controls the amount of moisture in the soil. It is at its peak at the time of the new and the full, when the sun and moon are lined up. Okay, so the new moon when they're together, or on the full moon when they're on the opposite side. So they have that pull, that gravitational pull, either both together, which is really strong, or on the opposite, which is unnervingly strong as well. Okay, so just as the moon pulls the tides of the ocean, it pulls up the subtle bodies of water, causing moisture to rise in the earth, which encourages germination and growth. Tests have proven that seeds will absorb the most water at the time of the full moon. Who knew, right? The ancients knew. Isn't that cool? I just think that's so cool. The moon moves through the astrological signs of the zodiac every 2.5 days, like we said. Each sign corresponds with the elements of, it would go fire, earth, air, and water. Some are considered more fertile and others are barren. Each planet has a preference also for the elemental sign it's planted in. The best time to start most annual plants seeds is during fertile water signs, but root crops like earth signs and flowers, especially like the air signs of Libra. All right, stop share that. All right, so that's pretty much the summation of gardening by the moon. I mean, there's a lot to it, but there's a lot there. So, just to recap it, just kind of did it again. The full and the new moons are very powerful. Again, the new moon, which is, always, we're starting something anew, the new moon. But that's, again, when the sun and moon are on the same side, they're in a gravitational pull. The water is going to be pulled up even more into the plant or seed. So if you can try to circle those times in a month to maybe do major gardening, if you can, and then as you get increasingly more toward your full moon. So for the next 2 weeks, circle all of the signs that are all of your fertile signs within that 2-week period. And, underscore, highlight, move heaven and earth to do your gardening on that time. And then do kind of less for the rest of the month. You can do your tweaking and stuff that you have to, but again, look at your fertile signs and do some then. So if you make yourself a little garden planner, like a little, your own little gardening calendar, and then, maybe make little leaves or something. And like I showed you, like, maybe make the moon sign and write that. So you have a little knowledge of it. And doing that is also going to give you a rhythm. You're going to know every month the sun and the moon, you'll know the track of them. You'll know when the full and the new moon is. You'll know what new moon, what the sign the new moon is on. You'll get a little bit more of that in-breath, out-breath just by making yourself garden by the moon. It gives you a little bit more of a practical, I'd say it's a good practical astrology, gardening with the moon, because you have to then pay attention and put your knowledge to the test. You're putting it to work and you're watching the efforts, whether you're growing houseplants, succulents, sprouts, you can grow sprouts in your kitchen. Try one batch, garden do it on the moons and do one on the barren signs and just kind of compare, how things grow, just really simply like that. So if you've got any questions, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. So gardening with the moon, and I couldn't resist saying, well, you could always do it naked too. So gardening with the moon. All right, thank you guys for being interested in studying astrology and gardening with the moon. Till next time, see ya.